Check out Yosemite Samantha. Not only is she the graphic designer for STR, she helped out with this video. Check out her Twitch channel at the link in the description.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, collectors. It's going to be Steven here, and welcome to another
Figure Fight.
In tonight's ultra super heavyweight title fight, we have the match you have all been waiting for. A revisit for Godzilla, King of the Monsters, where we take a look at Monster Zero. That's right, we had Minus earlier this month with Godzilla -1, and today we're going to Zero. In this corner, we have a representative of the oldest, or one of, toy companies who have been working with the Godzilla franchise for decades, and it's going to be Tamashii Nations, Bandai, MonsterArts, King Ghidorah. And in the other corner, we're going to have the newcomer to the game, straight out of China. We have Hiya Toys with their King Ghidorah 2019. That's right, we have Japan versus China here, and quite frankly, this is going to be the match to really keep your eye on. We've got a lot to talk about here. There's going to be a lot of weight thrown around, a whole bunch of necks and tails going head to head. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the chance to take your last piss break for the night before the new year rings in. Get your snacks, get back and settled in, and let's get ready for the
Figure Fight.
Now, okay, I set it up that way. I believe everyone really thought that we were going to go for a serious one. But did you honestly think I'm going to put that much more creative effort into this? Yeah, sure, I'd be willing to. But this hunk of junk right over here, absolutely not. And pretty much everyone in the review for this one so far that's been live, they've been calling it correct in the comments. Do we even really need this? Do we even really? No, we don't. But of course, I had to make it. And we're really not going to do a traditional figure fight here. I'll talk about it. But the reason that I'm making this video is not really to go through the normal motions of a figure fight, but it's more so to bring in the point of where the MonsterArts line really is now. For the community and for what the customer can get their hands on. I've made mention of this in plenty of my other videos, but at this point, I'm very much so under the impression that this is going to be falling on deaf ears to companies. I don't think that they're really going to be listening into the community and what the community wants because, well, we would be in a better place right now. I think that if there would be, there are only a few select ones who I know for sure are checking these videos out. So this is going to be for you who's thinking about maybe making a purchase. That's really what this video is about. So, okay, let's actually go through the traditional idea of a figure fight here, okay? So what do we have? We have the sculpt and the paint. I'll go in depth a bit more to this, but we do have from a part of the CGI files, the MonsterArts was created from them, in addition to sculpt from Shinichi Wakasa. So there's that. And then there's the paint application, which is bad, to say the least. Mine, fresh out of the box, had paint scratches to it. Bad. And the sculpt that they had a reference point of was outdated. So in terms of accuracy, which isn't necessarily what they're looking for in this, or even in making a good action figure, the sculpted details are great, as evidenced by the special color version that came out, which I'm going to come back to, but it's inaccurate. Everything, this just doesn't look good. That's the point. Just look how one wing has more paint than the other. Just look at the tones of everything. It's bad compared to this, where we have nice proportions to everything. We have an attempt at dry brushing. We have clear veins that are visible. We have nice undertones. We have clear visibility for the scaling. So even though the actual sculpted details on this are great, the Hiya is so much better. In terms of articulation, you can just see that there are joints on the wings. We have a cut at the abdomen for a point of articulation, even if the necks are pre-posed for sculpting, so it'll make some of the poses look a little awkward. Nevertheless, we have it. Nothing has fallen off of the Hiya, whereas this thing is nothing but an absolute mess. Come on. Yeah, okay, so this one, that's losing. When it comes to price point, the Hiya is $110 at US retail, but this is where we get a little bit difficult with things. I have had a few people in the comment section of some of my videos who note that Hiya figures are actually about half the price in mainland China. So for US distribution, prices seem to be going up comparative for about, what is that going to be? I'm bad with percents, but it's double the price in the US compared to China. So what is the retail on that? Let's just go with US retail. Whereas that, MonsterArts is going to be $180, and then that's a whole other video in and of itself. So that is going to be cheaper. When it comes to sizing, so we know that the MonsterArts is too big for the 6-inch scale, which it's supposed to be in. So that is sort of by default going to lose, which is the reason why I have these Spitfire Godzillas. There's a reason why I don't have the vanilla 2019 up here. So that is too big for that. But that and that are about the same size. You can see the wings are pretty close. I mean, this one is a bit smaller. So that is pretty in scale with the Hiya stuff, but that's not in scale with the 6-inch. So that's in scale with its own, but the MonsterArts is in scale. You kind of get the point that I'm saying. So overall, that's going to be a little smaller, and it works better with that, and it works within itself. That doesn't work with anything, unsurprisingly. So the Hiya gets that. We're 4 for 0. Then we get the accessories, which they both come with diddly squat, except for support stands. That comes with a crotch cradle, and that one comes with a chest cradle that actually works to prevent it from tipping over. However, it uses the terrible Hiya stands, which are in multiple parts. They can pop out, and I have a few that have cracked already. So I'm going to go ahead and make everything neutral there, despite the fact that I like those accessories more for the support stand system, just because that seems like it's going to be more prone to error. And the reason why also, as well as you can get adjusted support stands for the King Ghidorah wings for the MonsterArts. So we have 4-0. It is a clear knockout of the park. Now, the next part that I want to address is, why am I using the original instead of the special color version? Very simple. When it came to the 1989 diet figure fight that I did, that one was meant to be sort of like a celebration video for doing this for 10 years, and I really felt that we couldn't do a normal figure fight for this. The special color version is better than this in every single way. The paint apps, the joint quality, so on and so forth. But that is a different beast entirely. And this one is here specifically for what the rest of this video is going to be talking about. So in short, what this is going to be about is, as more products come into the market, what we really are able to see is we really do have to question what the prices are for the SH MonsterArts line, because they keep going up. And then we are really seeing that the effort put into the product is basically going to be minimal. And we do have to ask ourselves, what really is the business plan when it comes to the SH MonsterArts line? Nay, I would actually say Tamashii Nations in total. And thinking about how the SH MonsterArts line started, I think we really do have to go back to the idea of, again, how it started, and it does go to Yuji Sakai. Now, I do go into a bit more detail in my retrospective that I posted, The 10 Years of Destruction, but what I will say is, in short, he basically created some Godzilla action figure designs, he pitched them to Bandai, Tamashii Nations, they went with it, and then that came to the SH MonsterArts line. And that brought on some more sculptors, like Shinichi Wakasa, who again contributed not only to King Ghidorah, but I believe it was Little Godzilla as well, and the Destroya, which everybody pretty much knows and loves. And from there, as the years have gone by, you know, the community has been accepting of higher prices for the line because there's the assumption of quality that's going to be associated with this, very accurate or close to accurate to the source material as it can be, trying to keep things in scale, having those legacy names that are attached. Again, Yuji Sakai, Shinichi Wakasa, a few other people like associated with Biollante, Final Wars, Gigan in specific, so on and so forth. But really, at this point in the kaiju action figure phenomenon, as we're here more than 10 years later, even more if you factor in Kyoto and the Revoltech line, we are beginning to see that we do have other companies who are presenting alternatives to the SH MonsterArts line to various degrees, and they are beginning to show that what is going on for the SH MonsterArts line is not necessarily unique. Some of them are using identical technology and even techniques, and that even started really with NECA, who was presenting and promoting that they had access directly to the CGI files, and that was actually back when Godzilla 2014 came out. That's what they promoted their 2 figures on, the original 6-inch and then their 12-inch, which, hey, they hit the nail on the head for that one. Whereas the SH MonsterArts one came out, and that was basically frumpy. And I will say that one of the issues that was noted was that they didn't have access to the CGI files, and Yuji Sakai based his sculpt off of early reference material. I'm going to come back to that a bit more later. And today, again, they do know that they have access to the CGI files, which their sculptors do base their models off of, but other companies do have access to that, and they even have access directly to the designers of the Godzillas, or whatever other kaiju, or even the directors of the movie, like Super 7, working directly with -1. That's really cool. Other companies also have talented people who are art directors and designers, like Super 7. Kyle's fantastic. We do have Hiya, which there's some rumblings as to who they may have on their team, particularly with the Heisei Ghidorah that they have. Particularly, there's a hint there with a W and a dragon. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll see. And additionally, what they're really showing is that when issues come up, particularly with Hiya, they are actively promoting in their materials that they're using for solicitation that they are fixing issues that customers have. They are actively identifying issues, and they're noting that they are fixing this to come. Like the Godzilla vs. Kong version 2, they specifically stated, hey, we know you didn't like this, we're fixing it, and we're going to continue making it better. When it comes to the SH MonsterArts line, there's really been no acknowledgement of any issue that came up, just subtle nod to, oh, hey, we now are doing this, and this is going to be good. So they didn't acknowledge that people didn't like the 2014, and they were going to improve on that. Nope, just completely gloss over it, retire that mold, and do something different, which I guess in and of itself is good, but nevertheless, it's not even an acknowledgement like, hey, we got it, but we're going to do better. Nope, nothing of the sort. Now, on that note, again, going back to the early reference material, which apparently not only is King Ghidorah a victim of, but apparently this Godzilla in 2014 and a few others, but you would expect that even if there's early reference material, which we have bigger heads, oddly shaped necks, body, wings, so on and so forth, why does that constitute the rest of the figure just not being good when it comes to the production? Like we have sloppy paint for the wings, where literally the paint application is different for both of them. Why do we have bad quality control? Why do we have? Again, you can have the sculpt not be accurate, but you can make up for it in so many other ways. So exactly how do we fix this? What's going on? What's with the prices? Some folks have said that it is the assumed Toho tax, which I really don't buy that whatsoever. Reason being is that we do have other companies who are currently in the kaiju action figure realm who are making product that toe-to-toe, specifically right here, this would be a fun video to do. Okay, there are some areas where, the articulation is a bit different materials, but they're nearly tit for tat, and the prices are significantly more affordable on one end than the other. Again, this is going to be $180, this is going to be $110, this is going to be effectively, we can just say $68 at retail. This one's going to be $50. So how exactly are we going to be able to have something that is nearly equal, but we have the highest stuff, which is more affordable, again, even more affordable in mainland China compared to what the prices are for these. And I'll even go as so far to note that this one started off at $180 in 2019, before we had everything that happened in 2020 and the global recession that caused the 2022 repaint special color version, I think it was the end of 21, but you get my point, that went up in price. It went up in price, and that was still cheaper, despite the fact that it came out this year, 2023. Please answer me how this, which had no changes except for paint, ended up being more expensive years later than that. Make that make sense to me. Anyway, so when it comes to research and development as well, there are some questions because, again, you have these other companies who are doing the exact same thing. They're making kaiju action figures. They have access to the exact same materials. They have access to everything that Tamashii Nations would have, reference to the suits. They would have reference to stills. They have the CGI model access. And even before Tamashii Nations even bragged that they had that, and other companies had the ability to make more accurate product than they did. So what needs to change? There is always the bragging. I'm going to say bragging. I'm going to use it in the most negative way possible. So whatever's worse than bragging, that they are using the big legacy name for sculptors. That part, I'm saying negative. There is no disrespect to any of the names who are associated with it. But note that those names are constantly, nearly every single release dropped. For this one, for that one, for the other one. Yet you don't see that for the rest of the players in the game. They should get credit. I'm not saying that they shouldn't get credit. And what's going on in the movie industry where artists and directors and people who are working on concept stuff, they should absolutely get credit. But when you look at some other product like vinyls and so forth, particularly X Plus with their favorite sculptor line, things that are done with the artist who is well known, again, Yuji Sakai. It's very weird how his name keeps coming up in expensive product. The product price continues to rise. So if that is going to be an issue, maybe there needs to be a split in the SH MonsterArts line. Maybe there needs to be a higher end SH MonsterArts line and one that is more affordable for people. Because if you're going to have this astronomically priced figure that keeps getting more expensive and more expensive on redesigns and repaints, then it's just not feasible, and it's not something you can have in a competitive market when you have another contender who's doing the job better than what you're doing. Additionally, you have better engineering. You have a company who has basically no experience with something like this, completely knocking it out of the park, when Tamashii Nations has not only done 2 at this point, 3, I think, if you consider the repaint, King Ghidorahs, Heisei King Ghidorahs, but if you look at how they did the wings for this, that's basically the MonsterArts Destroyer's wings, but just done a little differently. They already did that. I can't figure out how they weren't able to do this, but then they were also in the research and development phase for getting the MonsterArts Rathalos wings. This doesn't make sense how they were not able to articulate these wings, but Hiya was able to do this with only in the first small handful of kaiju figures they were able to do, and I don't think Hiya's been around that long, and they were able to execute these wings. Again, I hate to say it, but make it make sense. Then there's the idea that Tamashii Nations Bandai is too big to fail. The too big to fail, which is absolutely absurd. Why? Because once you make that idea, that statement that comes up, you begin to fail. And if that is going to be true, that whatever Bandai touches is going to be gold and they can continue on doing that, then my question is going to be, where's those aliens and predator figures that you bragged about when you first unveiled the license? Bandai also has Bandai money. Make it work. You can do it. Give us something that we need here. Give us something that we want and something that we're able to do. Basically, right now, what it comes down to is the SH MonsterArts line, it doesn't make sense to me. And the more that we have other product that enters into the market, as we look at the SH MonsterArts line, it just doesn't make any sense. Again, you can say that, oh, well, this is an older figure. Oh, this is something that came out a little too early. It just doesn't. There's no reason for this to have turned out the way that it did. You can use the way too early samples of the models and this. Why didn't it have this engineering? Why didn't it have this better paint apps? Why didn't it have when you have this example right here that knocks this out of the park in every way? I don't care about the proportions. I don't care about everything that makes this more accurate. Why does this have better paint apps? Why does this have better quality control? Why does this have better everything than this does? You have better minds behind this than you would do, hypothetically, theoretically, in Minecraft this. None of this is adding up to me, and I just cannot figure out why. And I'm not the only one, just by implications of the market, when it comes to the worth of this and the value of this, because one clear example is there's someone in a group who I'm in, that I admin, someone's been trying to sell theirs. They originally started at $125 around the time that this began to, hey, we're getting ready to release it. $125. Okay. That has steadily gone down to where he just posted it the other day. He can't move this thing for $75. $75. So what exactly am I supposed to do with this? If he can't sell it for $75, I can't sell that for 75 shipped. What am I supposed to do with this thing? There's nothing that I'm supposed to do with this. If I sell that for 75 shipped, I'm going to be at a loss because it's going to be at least 35 to ship it. And then you talk about fees. There's nothing I can do with this now. It's doing nothing more than take up space. So, you know what? I think for this one, we're going to have one last hurrah. Is this review space done for right now? Yes, it is. But, let's take Old Faithful out back, and I got an idea what we can do with them. All right, so this will be your final send-off, your last entertainment here. We'll box you up in your casket. This will be your funeral pyre, as the kids say. Okay, I think everything looks good. You think you can record everything here?
I can do that.
Yep. Okay, let me get all nice in position here. Okay. How do I look? Do I look good here? Does everything look good?
You always look good. You're in frame.
Let me get a touch swing in here before we get started.
Safety first.
So I think I'm good. Do I look good?
Yep.
Okay.
We're good.
So I think let's go ahead and get everything in full frame.
All right.
All right. Does everything look good?
Yep.
Okay.
You're in frame.
Before we go ahead and get started, I just want to say, kids, make sure that you don't do this at home. I am not a trained professional. And of course, because we are on New Year's Eve, there we go. Because we are on New Year's Eve, we have to get a fire going. So I hope you all have a nice, safe, and happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone.